Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is what, the 17th of August today, or is it the 18th? It's the 18th of August today. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. We've got a lot to get through. It's Monday, which means charts. We're going to look at the DXY, Bitcoin dominance. We'll look at total market cap. Probably look at Bitcoin as well along the way. There's a lot to get through. Everything is playing out just as I predicted. Don't listen to the Moon Boys. Listen to me, because we are on track to do exactly what I've said we were going to do all along, and that is to crab sideways. So today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin tops, $2 million for Bitcoin, why and when, who's saying these things. We're going to look at Solana and Alpenglow. We're going to look at XRP, the ETF. We're also going to look at whether AI is going to kill us all in our sleep. That's the end of the show. Now, we obviously have the X-Files, and Monday means charts day. So we're going to look at the X-Files, the markets, and then the charts first. Everything will be done in an hour. If you're new here, make sure you smash the follow, the like, the subscribe, whatever buttons you've got in front of you. We're live on Binance Square, we're live on Binance Live, and we are live on the YouTubes. Good morning to a lot of people in chat, including Kishan, Tariq, Hidden. Tao is here. I can't see the chat names, but I hope you're all doing well. And KB has just arrived. Kevin Bacon, by the way, is one of our fanatic followers, for those of you that don't know. Now, before we begin, on the screen there, you will see Quiz Night. Wolf Swap Quiz Night. That is on Wednesday at 7 p.m., 5 p.m. UTC. It's going to be the quiz, okay? We're not going to mess around. We are going to talk a little bit about Amplify. We are going to talk a little bit about Vanta, because we covered it last month and it's coming to an end. There's only about 5 days left. So we're going to have a quick chat about that. That's what we're going to do. Now, there is one thing I want to show you that I haven't done and we should have done. So I'm going to put you on the front screen for 1 second. Now then, I am back. This is something that we're going to be doing that we haven't done. Now that is Team Water, which, for those of you that maybe are not following social media, it's an event by Mr. Beast, I think he's called. Now he's got his detractors. I know he's got a few very choice and unusual people that work for him, but we think the cause is very, very worthy. We're going to do something about it. But they've chosen August for their campaign, and today is 35 degrees where I am, and I know for Tariq, that's a winter's morning where Tariq goes out in 6 layers of clothes. He's got his hood up, he's got his balaclava on, he's got his scarf on. I know it's cold for Tariq, but for me, with my Irish blood, it is like Satan's crotch, okay? So, they've sent us a fleecy hoodie to record some videos. We can't do it yet. We're going to have to leave it till the end of August to actually record a video, because to get anything below 20 degrees where I am right now is impossible. So we are part of Team Water. We are going to do a donation, Team Water. We are probably going to do a live stream as well. So that's all to come. I think we have the rest of August to do it. So we'll see how long towards the end of the month we can do it. That's the second thing I want to talk about. The Wolf Swap quiz is the first. And now I think we should probably get on with the market reaction. There's a lot of people out there at the minute who are really sad. Okay, now you shouldn't be sad. Bitcoin has spent 102 days now consecutively above 100,000. Okay? Why are you all so sad? You shouldn't be sad, should you? You shouldn't be sad. If we said that by August of 2025 we'll be at $115,000 when Bitcoin was at $20,000, you'd have bit me hand off. You'd have bit my hand off, but you're not now, are you? Because you've gone out and you've bought your cereal box tokens. You've gone out and bought your Costa Coffee NFTs, and now you're in a world of hurt. Okay? That's why you're not happy. But if you were holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, even BNB, if you were holding these tokens, you're up. You're up massively. So don't panic. Okay? Don't panic. This comes to pass. Bitcoin runs, Ethereum runs, the alts run. You have a big bag of alts. They haven't run yet. Stick with watching Bitcoin and, for the time being, watching Ethereum. Ethereum people are still saying we're probably going to get to $5,000 by the end of August. I'm not too sure about that. We'll see. We're going to have, I think, a short squeeze today, having a look at the heat map, or whatever it's called, the order book before coming on air. There's a massive area above us now to be taken out. And it is Fake Out Monday. So maybe this is the fake down before the fake up. Who knows? But we're going to be back at 118,000 by the end of the day. Maybe. Bitcoin is coming in at 115,000. I'll take that all day long. Ethereum, 4,250. I'll take that all day long. XRP lost $3. That's a sad state of affairs for XRP. Let's see if we can get back above that. BNB is just relentless. It's like the T2000. It just keeps going. It's going to get to $1,200 and then it's going to stay there for the next 10 years. Solana back at 180. Where do we know that from before? Exactly. Cardano at 92 cents is decent. Again, 80 cents is where we could retrace to. That is my phone telling me that we have come down a bit. Thank you for telling me that. I already know that. Chainlink, I told you would be at $25 before you could say do re mi, and we got $25 yesterday. We're at $24.55. Look at that, 11% up on the week. Fantastic. Hype, what is it all about? Down to $43. Yeah. Right, I think we're going to see some really big red wicks down here. Monero is up just a touch. We're going to talk about Monero today, actually, and their 51% attack, which I don't think I've covered an awful lot this week. Waiting for November to tell us whether we keep BNB or we sell it. I tell you what, if we get anywhere near $1,200, $1,400, $1,500 on BNB, I'm selling. I got into BNB at $200, Tariq, and that's a 7x on BNB. I mean, that is an incredible return. Okay, you know the turning circle of a cruise liner is like 4 miles. The turning circle of BNB is an equivalent amount of time in crypto. So if we get anywhere near $1,500, $1,400, I think I'm out. I'm going to take a 7x from BNB all day long. Losers then, Pump.Fun. It is trash. I've told you it's trash. It's hanging around the $1 billion mark. I don't care what they do with that token. They're going to launch a new chain. It's going to be a scam. I'm not going anywhere near that. Radium is down a touch. Aerodrome is down at 131. I think Aerodrome was at 144 on Friday. Good 10% pump there if you longed Aerodrome. Mantle, yeah, Hype is down. Bonk is down. SPX, Theta. There's a lot of losers today, as you would expect. We're not going to spend too long on this because we have so much to get through. Let's go in. Now, I can't start the stream, and I can't do this stream without referencing the historic event in Alaska that happened on Friday. So I've chosen the most appropriate picture to discuss this with you, okay, when it loads. Because as you would expect, these things are going to take forever to load these days, aren't they? Here we go. Any moment now. There we go. Look at that. What a beautiful couple. Hey, Putin and Trump, topless on the back of a horse in the wilderness in Alaska, hunting Alaskan white bears, grey bears, black bears, whatever they've got up there. That's what we wanted to see. That's what happened. B-52s flew over singing Love Shack. That was incredible to see. Loads of very tall people standing around. A couple of Russians. All kinds of hilarious fun was had. And today they're going to meet in the White House, and the Bitpart players from the European Communion, EU are going to turn up. The European Union are going to turn up today, along with Kenneth Starmer, or whatever he's called, the guy from the UK who's a complete waste of time. He's going to be there as well. And then Trump is going to tell them what is going to happen. And that's pretty much the way it is. Zelensky really doesn't have any cards left. The EU didn't even start with a hand. So this is all going to come to a head today. And hopefully, I think the Crimea is going to be handed back. And then that will be the end of all of those things, which is great to see because we have to be very careful what we say nowadays on here for various reasons. We don't want to get too political, but it's good for crypto. That's where I'm going to on this. Hello, Flower. How are you? $3,700 for Ethereum's not going to go too far down now. I think we're going to get on to one of the tweets in a minute. We're going to look at the calendar of events for the rest of the week. There's a lot of things coming up this week. Powell is speaking on Friday as well. Now, JP Morgan, I think it was JP Morgan, said over the weekend that they're expecting 4 rate cuts. I don't know how we sneak in 4 rate cuts unless, and I don't, maybe there is a September, October, November and December meeting. I didn't think there was one in December, which means we've only got 3 Fed meetings left, which means 3 rate cuts, but the JP Morgan have said there's going to be 4. So how can we know that? Hello, May. I hope you're doing well. I think you're in the competition. Anyway, Eric Trump says everybody wants Bitcoin. Everybody is buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to skyrocket. These people who look like rats, okay, I don't trust them. I don't trust any of them, okay? If they have a tie and a shirt on and that kind of hair and that kind of ratty expression, I don't trust them. When these people are telling you to buy Bitcoin because everybody wants it, for me, I have an uneasy feeling in my gut, which is that they're just trying to leverage everybody else for their own benefit. So don't trust anybody you see. Of course, it's great that we've got the American government on board. Of course it is. And of course, fixing the banking problems, they're all very worthy causes. But Eric and Donald Trump Jr., they're not in it for the tech or saving the universe. They're in it for lining their own pockets. And they've got 3.5 years left to line their own pockets. Larry Fink has been named the co-chair of the World Economic Forum. Fink's BlackRock holds more than 700,000 Bitcoin. Should we be concerned? Absolutely not. I don't think we should be concerned. I think the World Economic Forum is talked about by people who wear tinfoil hats, and it's basically a big members club of people who want to feel important, to go along and talk to global leaders, and I don't really believe too much goes on at those events. But having BlackRock, pro-Bitcoin, in kind of a position where they can talk to all global leaders, how can that be a bad thing? How can it be a bad thing? Okay? I think it's a good thing. I think game theory is probably 6 months away. Game theory is where other countries start adding Bitcoin to their strategic reserve. I don't think we're that far away. Had you asked me a year ago, I would have said we're 4 or 5 years away. Now, I don't think we're that far away. Insufficient Orange, Michael Saylor's normal Sunday post, basically telling you that he is buying Bitcoin. There's a lot of FUD going around that BlackRock are going to buy a big enough share of Strategy to force Michael Saylor to sell his Bitcoin, which is probably one of the most stupidest conspiracy theories I've ever heard, given that BlackRock holds 700,000 Bitcoin, probably going to hold 1 million Bitcoin maybe spring, summer next year. Why on earth would BlackRock liquidate Strategy and crush Bitcoin when they hold so much of it? I just, come on. Now, this isn't anything to do with crypto, but I really like this post. This is from Dan Wang, and he's comparing the way that China organizes itself with America. And what I like about this is that China is run by engineers and America is run by lawyers. Now, forget China and Russia for a minute. Sorry, China and America for a minute. Think about a lot of the countries around the world. Like where we are now, I think there's 11 people in the government here. I think 9 of them are lawyers. If you go to the UK, Keir Starmer is a lawyer. He runs the UK, he's the Prime Minister of England. So I'm on board with this because engineers find solutions and lawyers find problems. And that is absolutely 100% true. So I like this approach. I mean, I'm not saying for 1 second that China's economy is better than America's economy, but it's just a really interesting take on something that I had never realized about China. I just assumed that most countries in the world were run by lawyers, and we don't really want that. We want doers to run countries, not lawyers. Lawyers debate, doers do. And I just thought that was a really nice take on the comparison. Probably explains why it doesn't take so long to build things in China compared to, there was an article out today about the UK's next nuclear power station. The original budget was 16 billion. The new budget, I think, is 54 billion. And they have a 54-page equality document on how that the people that work there are going to have certain flags, have holidays for certain religious events, have certain types of changing rooms. I don't understand the reasoning behind any of that to do with building a nuclear power station. Surely the objective is to build a nuclear power station that doesn't blow up. And that's the end of it. I don't understand it. So I think this kind of lack of energy in the right direction is a problem. And I think all of these other things around the core issue are all distractions which detract from it. And it's the same. They were trying to fix a bridge in London, and the cost of planning to fix the bridge was more than the cost of fixing the bridge. And we need to get away from that. And I think to some extent crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum and all that kind of thing, I think that's going to fix a lot of problems, but it's not going to get rid of some of the problems that we have. Now, somebody was asking, is Ethereum going to go to $3,700 in chat? These are the events for this week. Zelensky today with the European Union and Kenneth Stifler, or whatever he's called. Fed July meeting minutes on Wednesday is going to be fireworks. 2 of the Fed committee abstained, 1 resigned. Those minutes are going to be absolute fireworks. We're going to find out what the vote was. Then we've got the manufacturing data on Thursday, home sales on Thursday, and then Powell is going to speak on Friday. And that's the big one, because nobody cares what he's got to say if he's talking about something else. People are going to basically ask him 2 questions. Rate cuts, are you going to be sacked? That's all people care about. Or are you going to step down? Sacked, step down, same thing. They're the 2 questions that will be asked on Friday. So Wednesday is probably going to be a big day. And I would say Friday is the main one. What's Powell going to say on Friday? Nothing in there tells me that we're going to go through the floor. Because I think Wednesday we're going to see a kind of revolt in the Fed meeting notes. And that revolt will be people wanting rate cuts. And Powell, and probably, I think, what is there, 5 or 7? And I think it's going to be 4-3 or 3-2. That's how I think it's going to balance. Now, let's look at the 24-hour liquidations, because this is pretty hefty. On the right-hand side, 24-hour rect. I mean, it's not bad. 500 million. We've seen 1.2, 1.5 billion in the past, but still 500 million in liquidations is pretty decent. And of course, who got bent over the knee and spanked? The longs. Now, what that has done is wiped out a lot of longs, and what it has also done is build up a massive position shorts, especially on Ethereum, as you can see. I expect a pump today. Might not hold out the week, might not even hold out the day, but I expect us to go high quickly. Markets open in 4 hours. I expect us to go up, wipe out those shorts, and then sit at whatever price we're going to sit at. So I expect the shorts to be taken out. We can take out the shorts and continue to go up. We can take out the shorts and come back down again. I don't care. But there is a big bag of gold waiting to liquidate. There's a big bag of gold when we liquidate those shorts. That is to come. So again, I don't think we're going to drop. What would it take? It would take a 12% drop in Ethereum to get us to 3,700 from where we are today. I don't expect that today. If there is a peace deal today, that is going to be really, really bullish for the markets. 115k is a good price. Right then, this is the DXY. This is the chart section for those of you that are new here. What we do is we look at a couple of key charts, crypto. Some of them are more important than others. Some of them are just indicators, and that is nothing else other than that. So the first one we look at is the DXY, and this basically shows us how well the dollar is doing. And I've drawn my little pink line from the bottom, and we are pretty much, to all intents and purposes, following this line. And I did say we have got to break this bull market support band here, and as you can see, we've come to it twice, and I think we'll come to it again. I think the peace deal is going to drive this up. Okay, I think we're going to come up. We're not going to come up massively, but we are going to come up. So again, that pink line is where I expect us to go over the next few days. For those of you that don't know, historically, we do follow this kind of pattern in the DXY. So for those of you hearing that the dollar is the weakest it's ever been in centuries, it isn't the weakest it's been in centuries. If anything, what you could say is that it's had this little bit of a movement here, and it's actually coming down to test previous resistance to use it as support. If you're going to argue that case, then that would be the way. But if you listen to the naysayers who don't like Trump, they're telling you that the dollar is the weakest it's been forever, and it's not the case. It's just not the case. You just have to look at any chart to see that. And I know, a lot of charts might not necessarily be 100% trustworthy, but I would rather believe these than some hack from the New York Times. Now then, this is Bitcoin dominance. Again, Bitcoin dominance is not picking back up. You have seen the area here. We've covered it last week. This is the inauguration, is it not? Oh no, this is the inauguration, I think. Yeah, where we wicked up, he came into power, we came down, and then we came back in the range. This red line is what I am predicted that we are doing, and we are below 60%. The main reason we're below 60% is Ethereum has gone from $1,618, $2,000 up to $4,007, $4,006. That's the main reason we've come crashing down, and that is normally a precursor to an alt season. When you've seen Coinbase talking about alt season starting on Monday, which is today, maybe they're basing it on this, but I just don't think that we're going to have alt season now. We're not ready. We've got a lot more left to do for us to have a better position for the market. Now, yes, of course we can continue to come down, but I still think this red line is going to hold true. And I think Bitcoin is basically going to come back up into that range. If it's not, and if we do continue to come down, which I don't think we will, then you would expect Ethereum and the alts to run. But I just don't think that the middle of August is the right time for this. Okay, I think maybe Ethereum goes to 4,900, 4,800, and then it comes back down, and then maybe comes back down to $4,000, $3,800 in a few weeks, not today, and then Bitcoin will regain its Bitcoin dominance, and then we'll have, hopefully, come November, the final capitulation in Bitcoin dominance, and then the alts will run. That's how it's played out for the most of the last few cycles, and I don't want to really veer away too much from that until that entire premise gets invalidated, which of course at some point in the future it will. Maybe this cycle, maybe next cycle, maybe Bitcoin dominance, and maybe the 4-year cycle, maybe all that is finished with. Now, this is the total market cap of crypto. This is the total value of everything in crypto. 3.82 trillion. We were at 4.04, 4.14 we were last Friday. So we've come down. But again, we're almost at all-time highs. The total value of crypto is above where it's ever been. Now, the line that we really need to kind of, I suppose, hold is this one here, 3.65. What's that from here? 5% down? Something like that. I think 5%. So what we might do is we might do this and then move up. And again, that would tie in with the October pump. The middle of October is where we should probably start to go up. So I'm expecting that kind of movement. But again, if you're not bullish at this stage of the cycle, and you've been in crypto for a long time, I mean, when I mean a long time, I mean like 2 or 3 years or more, then I think you've got bags of alts, which means you don't have any of the top 5 tokens, 6 tokens. And then if that's the case, you just have to wait for alt season. But when you wait for alt season, please get out, okay? Because they're going to get crushed. The majority of alts are going to get crushed. You know, I'm seeing people talking about a $300 link on X. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? $80 to $100 is my top, and $100 is my absolutely blow off top target. $80 is probably more realistic. We're at 25. We were at 12. Okay. Before that, I think I bought Link. I don't know what I bought Link for. $8. I think maybe $7 or $8 I bought Link for. The Link runs to $60, $70, $80. It's a 10x, 12x, exactly what I wanted from my alts, which was the 10x. So be very careful that as we get towards November, people are going to give you really unrealistic and really high targets. And when I mean that sincerely, because I saw that in 2021 and I saw that in 2017. And we're going to get to November and somebody's going to tell Tariq that Litecoin is going to go to $1,000. And then Litecoin doesn't. Litecoin gets to $250. Tariq doesn't sell. And then in June next year, when Litecoin is back at $80 or $90, he's going to be kicking himself because he's going to have to wait another 3 years to sell his Litecoin. Don't listen to people who give you unrealistic targets, because they are unrealistic targets. Right then, this pretty much followed these Sanskrit drawings that I put on here at some point in 5000 BC. Okay, where I appeared to have told you that we were going to come down, bounce off this line, and then come back up to this area. And look at that. I mean, even KB must be smiling with pride at that. Look at that. It came straight into my box and has come back down again. Again, we're not quite at all-time highs for crypto, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we are not far off. We are 10% away from all-time highs. Again, how can you not be bullish? What I would say, however, and I've got to translate my lines that the Oracle puts in black, because otherwise you're not going to see them. I don't like the look of that for a start off. That seems to be some kind of level of resistance, which is 1.08 trillion. Again, with alts, where could alts go? I don't know, 1.52 trillion, maybe. But again, if we do come down and we come down to this line here, that's only a 10% move, similar to the one we were talking about on the total market cap. Maybe a little bit of a move down there. What else do we have? We're not going to look at that. We're not going to look at that. Now, CME gap. We don't need to look at the CME gap. And maybe we have a quick look at the Bitcoin chart. Let's have a quick look at that before we move on and actually talk about some news rather than trying to analyze charts. Remember, if you are new here, and there are a lot of new names around, make sure you subscribe and you press follow on YouTube, Binance Square, Binance Live, whatever you're watching us. Make sure you give us a follow and help us grow the channel. Everybody has their own realistic target. I don't think they do. That's the problem. I don't think people have got realistic targets. That's the issue. Because if you come to crypto and somebody tells you that Bitcoin is going to $500,000, is that a realistic target? I don't think it is. And I think a lot of people are listening to the Willy Woos, the Rich Dad Poor Dads, the Michael Saylors, the Cathie Woods, and they're not listening to the time frames, they're listening to the prices. So they're hearing $2 million, they're hearing $1 million, they're hearing $500,000. They're hearing these targets and then thinking that they're going to be here this year. They're thinking, if I buy Bitcoin today and it goes to 1.2 million at the end of this year, I've 10x my money. And it's unrealistic. And that's what I think the problem is. I don't think everybody does have these targets in mind. Right, that is all the way over there. So we're going to move that this way. There we go. Let's move that over there. Right then. Look at my red line and look at what we are doing. If the Oracle was here now, he'd be crying alongside KB at how accurate my lines are. Look at that. We said that we were going to come down, have a little wick up, come down again, have a little wobble. There you go, drawing you an octopus now. There we go. And we've pretty much followed this now. Pretty much followed this line. The bottom of this line, by the way, is about 111,000. The top of this is about 119,000. That is a range that we are going to be in until the middle of October. And yes, we're going to have periods where maybe we do this. Yes, we're going to have periods maybe where we do this. But on the whole, we're going to stay here until this white line. And this white line is about the middle of October, and that is when I think we're going to go up. That white line is based on every other white line from every other year preceding this year. So I haven't just picked a number in the middle of October. If I was going to pick a number in October, it would be the 2nd of October, which is my birthday. So I've picked it to happen 2 weeks after my birthday, and I think that's when we're going to go up. So I think we're going to be in this range, much to the disappointment of absolutely everybody out there, that we're not going to $195,000 tomorrow, but it's not going to happen. Now then, we're going to go on. Actually, going to do, what time is it now? Let's have a look at the time. 11:30. See, KB's impressed. The KB could take a few pointers from my squiggly lines, okay? Because he uses straight lines, as does the Oracle. I don't think straight lines are the future. I don't think straight lines are the future. I think hand-drawn lines are the future. That's what I'm going for. Now then, we're going to skip out the D-Day article because pretty much we've covered it. It's all about the data. We've covered it. This is the stuff that I don't want you to believe, okay? So, this was prepared earlier, by the way, May, and we prepare these all the time for the streams because these things just ain't going to happen, okay? I'm not going to burst your bubble because there's no bubble to begin with. Bitcoin to $2.2 million. Max Kaiser Bitcoin price prediction 2025 revealed. Epic 2.2 million price prediction voiced by Max Kaiser, and it's not basic one. Who wrote this? Gamza, resign. There he is. Not a massive fan of this gentleman. He is a Bitcoin maxi. He's been around for a very, very long time. He knows what he's talking about. But that doesn't mean I need to like him, does it? Now let's make it full screen. Max Kaiser is one of those figures in the crypto industry who doesn't limit himself in his predictions or in brutality when it comes to expressing opinions, and it's not like such a manner did not work for him. He's one of those calling for Bitcoin supremacy when the leading crypto was worth as much as $1. He brought a lot of celebrities to crypto. We've done articles and we've made videos about him before. He gave, I believe it was Russell Brand and a few other people, maybe Joe Rogan as well. He gave them 1,000 Bitcoin a long time ago. And then Russell Brand lost his keys to his 1,000 Bitcoin. So that's gone. I don't know what Joe Rogan or whoever it was did with his, but he's been around for a while. He is given a target of $2.2 million, a 10x from his long-standing trademark, 220,000. He links the new 7-figure prediction directly to what he sees as America's runaway interest bill, where borrowing costs are now climbing so fast they're reshaping the government's spending priorities in real time. According to new data, the US has already burned through $1 trillion in interest payments over just the first 10 months of 2025. This is the highest level ever seen at this point in the year. It puts it on pace to finish above $1.2 trillion in annual interest payments for the first time in history. The slope of the chart for 2025 is great. They want to lower rates so they can ramp this to $5 trillion. Bitcoin 2.2 million incoming. Now, of course, what you can do is you can take sound economic data and you can take that from multiple different sources, and you can say 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is not 10, it's 12,000. Okay? And you could call it, are interest payments too high? Yes. Are interest rates going to come down? Yes. Is inflation going to come down? Yes. Therefore, Bitcoin's going to be at $2.2 million. That's his argument. Okay? Another way of looking at Bitcoin is Bitcoin isn't going up in value. The currency you are buying it with is going down in value. Okay, that is another angle to look at Bitcoin. The Bitcoin stays consistent. Okay, there are 19 million Bitcoin. its inflation rate, the mining rate is about what, 1.5%, something like that. So it's not really moving, but everything around it is being devalued. The pound, the euro, the dollar, everything's being devalued, and it's being devalued at a pretty fast rate. So Bitcoin is going up in value. That's one way to argue it, but I wouldn't think we're there yet because we're still expanding Web3. Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything, it's still being adopted. I don't think we're at the point where we can actually say Bitcoin isn't changing in value, everything around it is devaluing. Because if you look at the cost of your bread loaf in your supermarket, that might have gone from €1, €1.50 over the last couple of years. Well, that's only 50%. Bitcoin's gone from $20,000 to $120,000. I don't think we're quite there yet. But I'm not a fan of picking sound financial data and then just randomly saying $2.2 million. That's just not how I see it working. And the problem is that you shouldn't be basing your future on a man who is going to sit there and give you a price target that is never going to happen. $2.2 million by the end of this year is not going to happen. $500,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year is not going to happen. $250,000 if something incredible happens, yes. $150,000, $180,000, I'm pretty certain we'll get to that range. So just be careful. That's all I'm saying to you. So have realistic price targets and stick to them. And like I said on Friday, if Ethereum goes to $7,000-8,000, I am probably going to sell the majority of my Ethereum. Okay? And then I won't care where it goes after that, because the value I will have, the benefit I will have from selling all of that Ethereum at that price outweighs whatever price it goes to in the future, because my real value is in Bitcoin, and that I don't intend to sell. If my Solana goes to $600, I'm going to sell it. If my XRP goes to $7, $6, I'm going to sell it. They are not... You know, I've not got 18 wives. Okay, wife number 6, XRP, out the door. Wife number 12, Ethereum, out the door. I'll be left with one wife by the end of this bull run, and it will be Bitcoin. Okay. Now, moving on very quickly. Solana votes on Alpenglow upgrade to cut block finality from 12.8 seconds to 150 milliseconds. There was a big bit of news coming out over the weekend about Solana breaking its own record. I think its record was 20,000 transactions, and it racked up 96,000 transactions or something like that over the weekend, which is incredible. But again, getting back to adoption, how on earth are Solana and Ethereum going to get anywhere in life if they get adopted and they can't cope with the volume of transactions? So you need to see massive volumes of transactions on Ethereum, Ethereum Layer 2s and Solana. You just need to see that, because if we 5x'd the number of people in crypto tomorrow, I don't think every blockchain out there would hold up. I think there'd be block queues. I think it would cause chaos. I think there'd be reboots. So doing this kind of stuff now is great. It's like, you know you're going to hold the World Cup in 4 years' time, and you know you need to build an 80,000-seater stadium in the middle of a desert. Okay? You go and build that stadium before anybody turns up, and you make sure it's finished before anybody walks in the door. And that's what Solana and Ethereum and everybody else is trying to do. They're trying to build their own stadiums, and they're going to try and, you know, test them, stress test them, stuff like that, trying to get it all right before the World Cup begins. And that's the right way to do it. Where I draw the line is where you have Java Chain. Okay, Java Chain, which is used by 6 people, and Java Chain can process 1.2 quadrillion transactions a second. But nobody knows how to get to Java Chain. Nobody knows what wallets work over there. There's no DeFi, there's no utility, there's no meme coin, there's no DEXs, there's nothing there. And I think there's a lot of those kind of chains out there as well, which just build something because they can. Nobody will use it. Whereas Solana and Ethereum, they need to get it right because they are going to be used by a lot of people, and they have to get these things right. That's why Vitalik is talking about switching to RISC-V or RISC-V or whatever it's called. That's why Solana are working on these updates to speed things up. and it will happen very slowly over time. Let's read this. The Alpen Glow upgrade centers on Votor, a lightweight voting protocol that finalizes blocks through single or dual round. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for popping up halfway through me speaking about that. Validators would exchange votes directly using cryptographic aggregates to prove consensus, dramatically reducing bandwidth overhead from heavy gossip traffic. The system introduces robust certification mechanics with different certificate types for notarizing, skipping, or finalizing blocks based on validator votes. Now, again, all of this stuff, probably don't need to know it. It's not important. All you need to care about is the fact that they're speeding up the chain. That's all that matters. And it's a good thing. And that's all we should really care about. Now, we're going to move on very quickly. We have a lot to talk about. Somebody said in chat about XRP. What's a good buy price for XRP? If we go down further, we talk about what we talked about only a few weeks ago. We had the price of $2.20, $2.50, $2.75. They were the price zones for XRP. If we do come down, I would look to $2.75 or $2.50 as a price to get into XRP. However, I'm not expecting that to happen, but if it does, I think a $2.50 XRP is good. But again, I'm not expecting it to go any higher than $7 or $8. So 3x, yes. 10x, no. XRP ETF countdown, all filings, final deadlines, and market outlook. Remember, XRP and Solana are both going to go great guns, probably near enough on the same day. I think pretty much on the same day. And the Solana ETF, I think, is October. So again, that ties into the October pump. I think XRP is certainly going to be sometime around that. We're going to find out in a second. And again, this is more for alt season. That's what we want. I don't see Bitcoin going much below $96,000. I know the Oracle and KB have got Oracle and KB have got 80-something thousand. I think we'll go to the bull market support band, which is about 104. And if we wick to 96, 98. And then I don't think we're going to go any higher than 120 unless something happens. Again, I'm sitting here saying this. If Trump, Zelensky, and Putin walk out that door, I'd be shocked because Putin's not in America. But if they did and said, right, we've shook hands, we've got a peace deal, then that's going to be a positive effect on the market. If Jerome Powell comes out on Friday and says, listen, I've wet the bed, I've made terrible mistakes in my life, and this is one of them. I'm cutting interest rates, bro. Let's go October, 0.5% rate cut, then the markets are going to rip. But I don't think any of those things are going to happen in that order. So I don't see anything that's going to drag us too far down, too much below 100,000. But I also don't see us going too far above 120, 125,000 either. So I think we're in this band. And as long as those two numbers, 111 and 119, hold, there's nothing really going to happen. Ice is in chat. Good morning, Ice. I hope you are well. So let's get on to this news about XRP, and I'm going to give you some price-ish targets for this. The SEC is working through a crowded pipeline of XRP ETF applications with several high-profile issuers awaiting decisions in the coming months. The legal battle is over. They've paid their $125 million fine, whatever it might be. Why are these? There we go. ProShares became the first mover. Then everybody else has followed. Sweet. The wave at the flood has followed. They've now got Grayscale is seeking it. I think BlackRock is in there. 21 shares. 4 is in there. So the ruling, this is pretty much the paragraph that we need. They're going to convert their XRP trust. Yes, the decision deadline is October the 18th, 2025. A day later, they must rule on the core XRP trust. That is the 20th of... Oh, no, there's 3 there, sorry. 18th, 19th, and 20th. Now, for those of you that remember what happened with Ethereum and Bitcoin, it doesn't matter when you apply. What they want is they're going to put everybody live on the same day. So whether you applied in July or August, or even if you applied last year, it doesn't matter. They're probably all going to go live on the same day. That's my belief, because that's what's happened with Bitcoin. That's what's happened with Ethereum. You're not going to be able to jump the gun and get into the Grayscale XRP ETF before the BlackRock one. They're all going to happen on the same day. That's point number one. Point number two, I think the XRP and Solana ETFs are going to go live on a similar day or date, I believe. And this is more fuel for the blow off top when these two alts, and think about this, we've got Bitcoin and Ethereum. Which other top 10 coins should have their ETF now? BNB, an unfancied coin that does incredibly well. XRP and Solana, they are next. And then after that, kind of have the third wave, where you'll have the Cardanos, the Chainlinks, probably even Doge is going to get its own ETF, God forbid. You're going to probably have a Hype ETF, maybe Hype ETF. I don't know whether that's probably going to be allowed, but who knows. So again, this is all happening towards the end of October. I've said the next major move is going to be the middle of October up, because rate cuts are starting in September. Rate cuts start in September. The money app has already been turned on. China's pumping 89 billion in today and probably tomorrow as well. The money tap's being turned on at the end of September. The ETFs are going to be approved the middle to end of October. So we can see maybe 2 rate cuts September, October. ETFs go live in October. November, everyone's rich. Okay? Everyone's Lambo'd up to the hilt. Everyone's got cigars. Everyone's got Rolexes and gold chains. That's the goal for November. That's the target. If you're going to get in on XRP, I think anything under $3, $2.75, $2.50, anything around that price is good. The top end of where I think it will go to is $7-ish. You get in at $2.50, you could do a 3x. I am not going to sit here and say we're going to $50 or $100 because I can't see a scenario. Even if I joined the Marvel Universe and teamed up with Benedict Cumberbatch, could I ever predict a $100 XRP? Maybe in 30 years' time, yes. Certainly not this bull run. There's not enough money in crypto to get XRP. I think we're going to struggle to get anywhere near $10, which is what everybody's telling you we're going to go to, $10 to $25. I just don't see that on the cards either. I could be playing with a broken hand. That's the other scenario in this. I could just be completely wrong on all of this. And all of these moon boys, they could all be right. Always have that thought at the back of your head. Don't listen to me or anybody else. Listen to why I describe why we're going to go where we're going to go, and ask me questions about it. And then do the same thing with the people telling you we're going to $100, going to $300 on Chainlink, we're going to go to $2,500 on Solana. Ask them the same questions. Where's the money coming from? How's the price action going to get us there? When's your target? Ask them simple questions. I can answer all of those questions. Hopefully they will as well. Now, Kraken has frozen Monero deposits after Cubic boasts network dominance. This is going to happen more and more. As computers get more powerful, certain proof of work projects are going to start having this 51% attack. Basically, what happened here is Cubic took over 51% of the hash rate and then started to rewrite blocks. This is a threat to a lot of different proof of work chains. If you look at Casper, last year or the year before, I was talking to the Oracle, and the Bitcoin miners, some of them started to mine Casper, and I said that won't be good for the price action, because what they'll do is they'll mine Casper and then just dump it on the market, which is exactly what they did. But then when Bitcoin started to go up in value, all of that hash power left Casper, went back to Bitcoin. And Casper was left with a lot less hash rate than it had when the grade A miners were using them. Now, this is pretty important, because this is one of the reasons Ethereum and Ethereum Classic exists. Ethereum, way back when, had a 51% attack, and they split. And Ethereum Classic is the old, and Ethereum is the new. And then, of course, Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake. We know all of that. But anyway, Monero got absolutely spanked. There's no other way to describe this. 51% of the network's hash rate, a 6-block chain reorganization, orphaned 60 blocks and coincided with an 8 to 17% drop in the Monero price. Some argue Qubit's dominance is little more than smoke and mirrors. There's a big chat about it. Some of Monero have pushed back, calling Qubit's claim inflated or outright fabricated. Of course they will. They point to mismatches between the pool's reported hash rate and its actual block production. Even so, reports of blockchain reorganizations continue. Kraken has judged the situation serious enough to suspend deposits. As a security precaution, go away. They have basically stopped deposits. So again, I am not throwing, what do they say nowadays, shade on Monero, but I did make a video called Monero is Dead. And I made that about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. People absolutely panned me for it. But the long and short of it is, very simply put, privacy coins do not have a future in Web3. They don't. The net benefit of them isn't there. They are a detractor because countries are not going to allow them to exist. And there will be enough political will to crush them. And if you want an example of that, France, Holland, I think Italy and a few other countries in Europe, they banned Monero, and that's why I made my video, and Binance had to remove it. And the rule is very simple. Binance, remove Monero or we remove you. So Binance complied, it quite rightly should, and it removed Monero from its platform. And that only has to happen on a global scale, and you won't be able to cash out Monero, and you'll only be able to trade it on DEXs. Now again, you might say, well, what's the problem there? I'll trade it on a DEX. Absolutely. Where is the majority of liquidity in crypto? On Binance. Maybe Kraken, maybe Crypto.com, maybe Coinbase, yes, but the majority of liquidity is on exchanges. So Monero is great, it will survive, whatever, but the coin's value isn't going to do anything if it's not listed on exchanges. What do most projects want? They want to be listed on the likes of Binance because that's where the liquidity is. More liquidity, higher market cap, and hopefully lower volatility in the price of the token. That's what we want. And unfortunately, Monero is going the wrong way on the motorway of adoption. Fortunately. And I'm not a fan of Monero either. Not a fan. Although I did get shouted at an awful lot by the Monero community when I made that video. Just awake. You know what? I'm not even awake. I was going to stream today, by the way, my Binance mug. And then I realised that the chances of me spilling whatever in the mug straight down my chin on the live stream is very, very high. So I've stuck with my Bar Humbug coffee. Sol is at $181. Again, it's a good price. It could go to 163, by the way. What you could do, if you want to buy into XRP, you want to buy into Solana, you want to buy into a lot of these coins. I said this last week because somebody was saying, don't dollar cost average in, just ape in. And I think it was someone like Hayes, I think, said it. It's BS. Dollar cost average in. Because if you'd have done what he said last week, you'd probably have a $4,800 Ethereum. You'd probably have a $3.40 XRP. Don't dollar cost average in. Because why? You buy 4008, 4007, 4006, 4005, 4004. It goes any lower. 42, 4, 38, 36, 34. Your average price of your XRP comes down every purchase. You might end up with a $4,000 Ethereum. And then Ethereum goes to $8,000. You've doubled your money. You dollar cost average in. You dollar cost average in to what you want to buy. Do it at the top, you can do it at the bottom. It is totally irrelevant. You keep dollar cost averaging into the coins that you want. Okay? So just keep dollar cost averaging in. If these are the coins you want, do that. But I said this last year, have your bags packed by the end of September. So whatever you want to buy it between now and the end of September. And then stop buying in October. Now, that's not financial advice. That's my opinion. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's just point all those things out there. If you're dollar cost averaging in to the end of the bull run with the plan of selling at the end of the bull run, you're doing it wrong. You should be dollar cost averaging out in November if November is the end of the bull run. And again, as I've said to Tariq a few times, we're going to have a look at where we are in October, because there is a 10%, 15% chance that the bull run goes to March. There is, because we've got a different scenario today than we had 4 years ago. Today, we've still got high interest rates. We haven't got the money printer turned on. 4 years ago, had COVID, low interest rates, money was being pumped into the system to keep economies alive because nobody was allowed to go to work because they had a sniffle. All of those things were happening 4 years ago. 4 years later, we've not had the rate cuts that we were promised yet. The ETFs aren't live until October. There is a pretty good chance we could run on, but we stick to our principles until those principles are wrong. Now then, this is what I'm going to leave you with today, and that is, people deserve to know the threat is coming. Superintelligence and the countdown to save humanity. This is my bull post of the day. When are you going to be murdered in your sleep by the T2000? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. Superintelligence and AI pose an unprecedented risk to our survival, yet few people realise how close we are to potential catastrophe and that the time to act is now. Who wrote this? Christina Comben. There you are. That is a big rock. Doesn't look anything like AI. It's got some kind of target around it and then 5 people looking at it with no weapons. Again, abstract at best. Would you take a drug that has a 25% chance of killing you? Now, we did this the other day. Do you remember? Me and the Oracle a few months ago. What was it? Was it oranges or something? Or bananas? Get 1,000 bananas, and you got $1,000 for eating every banana. But one of the 1,000 bananas would kill you. How many bananas would you eat before you stopped? And I think a few of you said 5, a few of you said 6, a few of you said none. Totally agree. Whatever you want to pick, that's fine. But again, 25% chance from a tablet? Absolutely not. 1 in 4 possibility. Your ills are preventing the case. What is this going on about? The children, the babies, the future footprints of humanity for generations to come. What has she been smoking? Thankfully, you wouldn't be able to anyway, since such a reckless drug would never be allowed on the market. Yet this is not a hypothetical situation. It's exactly what Elon Musk and Sam Altman of the world are doing right now. AI will probably lead to the end of the world. In the meantime, there'll be great companies. 2015. No pills, no experiments. Medication is just an arms race at warp speed to the end of the world as we know it. What is she talking about? You absolute bat. How long do we have left? That depends. Last year, 42% of CEOs surveyed responded that AI had the potential to destroy humanity within 5 to 10 years. Anthropic CEO said a 10 to 25% chance of extinction. Unfortunately, his concerns are echoed industry-wide, especially by a growing cohort of ex-Google and OpenAI. 10 to 25% chance of extinction is an exorbitantly high level of risk, which there is no precedent. Okay, if ignorance is bliss, knowledge is an inconvenient guest. Okay, so she's stealing quotes now. AI companies have blindsided the world with how quick they're building these systems. Most people aren't aware of what the end game is, what the potential threat is, and the fact that we have options. Okay, I'm not going to read any more of this because this is basically left-wing propaganda. So, what's going to happen? There is going to be an efficiency curve that we are going to go into. And the efficiency curve is going to increase the productivity of a nation based on the amount of robots and AI it has at its disposal. And that efficiency curve is going to lead to something called a universal income. Now, you can sit there and not want that. You can sit there and say that the men in suits are going to demand that we obey and whatever it might be. That's not how it works. There'll come a point where 25% of the population will be replaced by automation, robots, and AI. but the productivity of that country will go through the roof, and the cost of a lot of items will go through the floor. AI will lead to reforestation, cleaner oceans, it will repopulate rivers, it will do a lot of good for the world, okay? And there will have to be a universal income, because there are, at this moment, too many people to have for the jobs that are going to be available. So what will happen, there'll be a universal income, stuff will be free, people will have to be part of that, and banks, lawyers, doctors, operations, healthcare workers, all of that kind of stuff is going to be revolutionized by robots. There's going to be mass protests about it that can be done out of work, and then there's going to be a compromise where humans work alongside robots, the usual kind of stuff you see. But listening to this kind of garbage is going to make you filled with anxiety. Your kids don't have a future, and this is the same kind of stuff that was peddled at the advent of the internet. This was the kind of stuff that was peddled with the invention of the train. This was the kind of stuff that was peddled with the invention of, what else? The telephone, okay? People used to call them demons, people call them all kinds of names. It's not going to happen, okay? This is why I have trust issues, okay? I've been on this planet a long time. When I was growing up, we were told that there wasn't enough food to feed the world, okay? We were going to have 20 billion people in 2030, okay? Our population on this planet peaked about 5 to 10 years ago, and now we're in decline. Japan is not going to exist in 6 years' time. Italy is not going to exist in 6 years' time. There is a population collapse around the world. So, why don't I believe experts? Because everything they said when I was a kid hasn't come true. And if nothing they've said has come true, why should I believe anything else they say? Very simply put, there are, of course, smaller examples where it has come true, but on the whole, we're still here, still alive. The best time to be alive in the history of mankind. Don't listen to crap like this. Don't listen to people telling you that Bitcoin's going to get hacked by quantum computers, because that's not true either. Don't listen to stuff like this, because it's only here for clicks. Anyway, glad I got that off my chest. ICE, yes. So, those of you that are in here that are in, we do some competitions on X over the weekends, okay? We did a competition on Saturday for who was going to win between Man United and Arsenal, and that was a very simple competition. Guess the score, and lots of people entered, and I think about 10 people, 12 people got it right. But of that, I think 2 of them are scammers. So after this has finished, they're going to be removed, and I'm going to spin a wheel, and the real people who did predict the score, they're going to be entered, and hopefully they will win. I think there's 3 people who are going to win. There's going to be a first prize, second and third, and then I'm going to put that up probably in a few hours. So yes, there are scammers out there. They're not really scammers, they're more bots that just answer competitions. So I'm going to get rid of them, don't worry about it. Anyway, I am back tomorrow. The Oracle is back tomorrow night. We probably have, go back here, for those of you that just joined us, we have a quiz on Wednesday. The quiz is Wolf Swap. Wednesday night, there'll be 30 questions, and we will try and get it done within an hour and a bit on Wednesday. It does drag sometimes a little bit later than an hour, but we aim for maybe an hour and 15. And again, there'll be 3 prizes given out there. The top 3 all win the same. If I do that, as my head appear in the background. That one. Yeah, there I am. Yeah, the top 3 people will win. So make sure you turn up on Wednesday as well. Thank you for everybody that has turned up. You are all amazing human beings. I will see you all tomorrow, and I'm going to make the video now about the winners of the BC Game competition. Oh, I can't say the name. There's a winner of a competition. That's going to be announced on X probably in the next 2 hours, so make sure to catch that. And I will see you in the morning. Thank you, KB. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Tariq, Kishan, the usual crowd that are here. Thank you all for turning up. See you in the morning. Bye-bye.